some perspective, what should one do with the stock now? It's fallen about 2 to 3%. Should you bet on TCS, after the fall, or is there more pain ahead? Kumar Rakesh, the India analyst for auto and IT at BNP Paribas, is now joining in with his thoughts. Thank you for joining in. First, throw some light on, we know about the numbers, we've spoken to the management, but in terms of the stock, the valuations, because relative to many of the large cap peers, TCS's premium valuations no longer exist. And also funds have started getting a little underweight on TCS. So keeping that in mind, give us your thoughts on how the stock price will perform from here.
Good morning, Rima. That eventually is one of the silver lining of all the numbers which we have seen, which have been disappointing. But the fact is, on valuation, a lot of these risks are more than priced in. On PE valuation, which you're referring to, the premium relative to some of the other peers is no longer there. But more importantly, on some of the other matrices like dividend yield, TCS is trading at the highest it has ever traded. And the reason I'm bringing in dividend yield is because these companies have gone through significant transformation on the balance sheet cash flow side. The payout ratios have materially improved. Some of these things do not get captured in the PE valuation. And that is what the dividend yield is telling us, that at least the downside from here is quite limited. But at the same time, possibly the catalysts are missing for the next quarter or two. And that is what the market probably would be waiting to watch out for. And there are some of the other names where there could be relatively more growth outperformance, and that may, relative to TCS, may start looking more attractive, such as Infosys.
Kumar, thank you for joining in. Since you brought up dividend yield, is that the only metric that one could think of for staying invested in a stock? Because at the end of the day, capital appreciation is also important, right? Because you say that the headwinds are factored in, yes, but there are no triggers over the next 2 quarters. What if further headwinds emerge? The street does not like uncertainty, right? They would want to have clarity, and clarity is something that is lacking at the moment.
You're right. Yeah, dividend yield gives you a perspective in terms of if there is any further downside risk or not. The TCS is trading at about 3.7% 1-year forward dividend yield. Today's correction would have moved that a little higher. And that essentially tells you that, okay, from here on, possibly the downside risks are not there. But the point which you're talking about of the demand environment and the catalyst, that still needs to be there for the outperformance or the stock to start moving up, which is the point which I was referring to. Given the weak first quarter, possibly the full year outlook also is quite muted compared to some of the other peers. And hence, that premium valuation which used to be there may take some time to come back. And that's why relative to TCS, some of the other names may start looking more attractive.
Okay, so the next big number we'll be watching out for will be Infosys. It doesn't report numbers next week, but around 21st, 22nd. What is the expectation there?
So if you look at the stock price reaction today, probably market has already started pricing in that there is some degree of miss across all the IT services companies. There's not much to cut on valuation. So today's stock price reaction is largely reflecting earnings cut possibly happening through the earnings season this time around. And that sets relatively easier base or expectation going into Infosys result. Consensus was expecting close to 2% sequential growth, including acquisition possibly. And some of the expectation also is of the lower end of the guidance being raised. I would expect those expectations would have come down post the yesterday's result. And if they are able to even meet the expectation, that would be positive going into the result.
All right, Kumar, thank you so much for sparing time and joining us today with your views on TCS and, of course, what to anticipate from Infosys as well as it reports results in the next couple of weeks. I'll take a short break. The management of Bansal Wire Industries joins in on the other side to discuss the road ahead and a lot more. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.